Welcome back to the 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show. My name is Wayne Kimmel, managing partner of 76 Capital, the sports tech venture capital company. On this show, I interview top sports entrepreneurs, athletes, and executives who are shaping and many times changing the sports business industry. You can subscribe to our show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our 76 Capital website. Today, my guest on our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show is Matt Hillman, the CEO of Path Talent, a management company for fitness influencers. And Matt is also the co-host and partner of the Roommates show with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks. Matt, welcome to our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show.
Thanks, Wayne. I'm excited to be on. Should be fun.
Really excited to have you on the show. I mean, you know, it's amazing. We're taping this right after Father's Day. You're a new father. Happy Father's Day. Congrats on everything that you and your family and everything that you've done. And it's really amazing. And I can't wait to dive into your whole career.
I'm happy you led with that, right? Because that's the most important. You know, that supersedes any other job. So, but thank you. It was a really great first Father's Day. I had a nice brunch and walked around and just enjoyed the day, enjoyed the weather. So it was awesome.
Well, you know, when I think about you and your relationships and your family and all the things that have happened in your life to date, I mean, it is truly all around family. I mean, and I think that's where a lot of your story gets started. I mean, it's amazing to hear and read about how you and Josh Hart met each other in DC when you guys were in high school and to now be working together after all these years. I mean, it must be amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really special. As you mentioned, you know, Josh and I go back about 15 years. We met in 2010 and we sort of knew of each other prior, just playing against each other in the DC area, which is obviously a great basketball area. And yeah, I think, you know, to be doing work together, meaningful work together, this 15 years later is really, really cool. But I would say what's even cooler is, you know, when we're all just hanging out with our kids and, you know, it's surreal and our, you know, our families do holidays together still. So it's an awesome relationship.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, you mentioned the relationship on the court, you know, started there. Mm-hmm. So I saw that you were the captain of the team.
I was.
So how did that work with Josh? I mean, how did you guys share the ball and how did that all go?
It worked out well. I was obviously after that our careers went in very different directions. I ended up playing Division III at Carnegie Mellon, and for me, my goal with basketball was always to get into a better school that I could have gotten to otherwise. So I achieved my goal, and I know obviously he achieved his. But no, it was good. I would say, and Josh will tell you this, he was obviously a really great player in high school, but never could have predicted where he is now, and I don't think he could have either. You know, to be averaging like 14 and 9 in the NBA was just not on anyone's radar. He was just trying to use it to take himself further in life and hopefully take care of his family. And he just kind of kept getting better throughout his career. So all credit to him.
Well, I want to talk about your career as well. I mean, you've had an incredible career as an entrepreneur, an investor, now podcast host, you know, CEO of a management company. I mean, you've so many things that you're doing. You know, let's pick the first thing. I mean, let's talk about the Roommates show and what you're doing there with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson, and how did that all come about?
Yeah, I would say so. So I graduated college in 2017, moved out to LA shortly after. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Started in the mailroom at CAA. I just figured that was a great place to learn as much as I could about entertainment and, you know, sports and all of that. The thing that really opened my eyes when I got there was that company, and also just LA at the time, and really, you know, a lot of what you do and what I do now, it's so much more than that, right? It's really about all of these industries converging. There's no, you know, tech and media and music and sports and entertainment. They were all really separate prior, but now, you know, and we're at that point, but we certainly were starting to get to that point when I was entering my career where they're really all the same, and you can really have your hands in all of these different worlds. And that was really exciting for me. And so I didn't last too long at CAA. I was there for about 3 months. I ended up going off on my own, and obviously with the goal of maintaining a really great relationship and working with them still in some capacity, but ended up starting a marketing agency, which was kind of like my first successful foray into entrepreneurship. I started like a couple companies in college that didn't really work out, but yeah, it was a marketing agency. It was called Cut and Sew. Started it in January of 2018. Doing everything from social and digital to influencers, content, events, strategy. Just felt that, as the cool thing I think about marketing is like a lot of it is very intuitive. And if you're online and you understand consumers and you sort of, at that time, we really were the target demographic, a lot of these brands were looking to reach, you can be really successful and get a few campaigns under your belt, tell that story, and then you're kind of off to the races. So that was kind of my first foray into entrepreneurship. We ended up selling the company in July of 21 during COVID, which I'm sure we could talk about that. But all the while, Josh was living in LA as well. He got drafted by the Lakers 2 weeks after I moved out there. So we moved back in together. And just by nature of like living together, started helping him out a ton off the court, from everything from, go ahead.
I was going to say, so you moving back in together. One thing we didn't touch on is that you guys lived together before that, right?
In high school, yeah. So he moved in with my family in high school as well. So by nature of like living with Josh, started helping him a ton with like off the court stuff. We started writing some angel checks together. Started doing a lot of his brand deals at the time, and so we just started to grow not only separately in our careers but also together. And around that time, we had started a podcast of our own called Light-harted, which I know you're gonna make reference to, and that was like early days, obviously long before roommates and long before Josh was where he is in the league. Jalen was not involved. And so it was just very, very preliminary. I think we thought we had achieved some scale. Now, fast forwarding to roommates, looking back, we did not. I think we have it now. And obviously we're going to continue to hopefully build it. But that is like kind of all of the genesis that led to roommates being what it is. And then obviously, I went to visit Josh at Villanova a ton. And so I got to know Jalen really well. And so the three of us kind of have had a genuine friendship. And when the opportunity for them to start roommates came about after Josh had gotten traded, and they've had a ton of viral press conference moments where Josh is eating popcorn and messing with Jalen. It was like, all right, these guys need a pod. And then it was sort of a natural transition for me to jump in as the third co-host to kind of help, steer it, keep the trains on the tracks, kind of play that like Ernie role. And then obviously having done a lot of work with Josh off the court and just having a good relationship with Jalen, it made sense for me to fill a business role as well and start really thinking about the show, how to grow strategically, who the right partners are, et cetera, et cetera. So long-winded answer, but that's where we are.
I love it. And I love what you just said, play the Ernie role. Talk a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone, I knew from the jump, and I think it's really important if you play that role to know this, why people show up to watch the show, right? They show up to watch Josh and Jalen give takes, banter, and just be the stars that they are, in the same way that maybe you show up for, Shaq and Chuck and on TNT. And so my role is really just help drive the show, help structure the show, help ask questions that I think the fans would want to hear, and just make sure the guys are put in really good positions to show their personalities and to shine, and ultimately help put together a great product. So that's what I try and do each episode.
That's incredible. I mean, it really is amazing to see what Ernie Johnson does, on inside the NBA. I mean, and how, just like you were saying, I mean, how he's able to kind of throw almost like the point guard, right? I mean, like, making sure that everyone gets their due, and he just kind of does his thing, but gets out of the way.
Totally. And I want to be clear, I'm not putting myself and him in the same ballpark. He's a legend. I'm very early in my journey, but that's the North Star for sure.
Not, of course. I mean, I think it's all, we always, look to emulate,
sure.
some of the best, and he really is incredible what he's done with that show. And, it's one of those things, being an East Coast guy, right? You gotta stay up late sometimes to watch some of the best stuff that happens after that second late game.
For sure.
When he's doing his thing. So
not like 1 a.m.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, so you said like sort of Light-harted got it all started for you as a podcast host, and doing that, you and Josh, and how was, what were some of the things that you learned with that show that you're bringing to roommates now?
Yeah, I'll tell you the biggest thing I learned. So when Josh and I started that, we were obviously both very early on in our careers. And I think we had a bit of a chip on our shoulder of like, we need to do everything by ourselves. We need to own everything. Any partnership is a loss of independence or whatever. And so as a result, obviously Josh was playing in the NBA, right? So I was doing guest booking, ad sales, social media, working with the editors on production, like every single thing you could possibly imagine. And it was just really taxing. And ultimately both of us kind of burned out right now. So we're working with a company called Playmaker. They're awesome. We've been with them for 2 seasons, and they do all of that: guest booking, social media, ad sales, merch. They obviously shoulder a lot of that, but I'm very involved strategically. So Josh, Jalen, and myself just focus on making a great show. And that's the biggest thing I learned is you don't have to do everything by yourself. And if you do, the product probably won't be as good. So we have really great partners.
And so all these brands that when you listen to the show or watch the show on YouTube, you guys do a lot of in integrating a lot of different brands in the show. It's incredible that you have so many. I mean, you talk about a partner and running the business. I mean, that's a good thing from a business perspective. But how do you kind of integrate them in all the time?
Yeah, again, credit to Playmaker. They have like a really great ad sales team. Josh's agents at CAA are also bringing in a ton of partners. I'm bringing in partners as well. So it's definitely an all hands on deck thing. No one partners on the show if it doesn't make sense for the guys and if it's not like a good fit. But we try really, really hard to do really organic sort of integrations. We'll do custom segments where, we do a lot with Tommyjohn or Bet365. Bet365 will talk about the NFL games that week. Tommyjohn will talk about, because they're like underwear and it's like a sort of play on the word support. We'll talk about like teammates. So we do a lot of those like custom segments and kind of, it feels like organic conversation, and hopefully stuff kind of goes viral or gets a lot of earned media, and then it's really beneficial for those partners. We obviously do ad reads as well. And then our social accounts are really strong. So we do a ton of social integrations as well. And then even on the event side, we do a 5,000 person event every year in Central Park called the Roommates Block Party. And we do a ton of really cool activations there as well. So whether it's content, experiential, whatever, like we have a lot of ways for brands to work with us.
Well, I've saw on some of the live events, you had some incredible guests. Talk about some of the guests that you've had and some of some things that have just been really incredible as part of the show.
I mean, that's been one of the coolest parts is obviously the Knicks are so known for having that iconic celebrity row, right? You have Chris Rock and Tracy Morgan and Jon Stewart and Brent Stiller, and like the names go on forever. So to be able to have some of those on the show has just been really, really cool. Ben Stiller was like a really amazing guest. Tracy Morgan was a really amazing guest. We had Action Brunson, who's awesome. Who else did we have? We had Fat Joe. A bunch that I'm for sure forgetting. A bunch of Anthony Volpe. We obviously had a bunch of their teammates, Mikhail, Karl Anthony Towns, Julius Randle when he was on the team, Dante when he was on the team. So New York is such a big market with such passionate fans that you really can build a show almost just for that city. And I think we've done a good job. Obviously, we're going to expand, but yeah, the guests. It's been really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I watched one of the episodes with Jay Wright, and it feels like you're just kind of sitting in the living room with Jay and Josh and Jalen and you, just talking about the old days. It's incredible.
That's the goal, I think, is to really make it feel to the audience like you're sitting in as a fly on the wall in conversations that are otherwise happening. We don't want it to feel too corporate or anything like that. We really try and keep it fun and let everyone's personality show, especially during the summer when there's no season. We can kind of have a little bit more fun with it, maybe get some guests we wouldn't otherwise get, talk about things that are not basketball related, because during the season there's so much to talk about on the court, right? People really want to hear that take. I think that's what's so cool about a pod is after a game you could turn into ESPN, or you could turn in to roommates and hear it from the people that played. And so I think that's a really cool part, but it's fun to sort of play both sides.
So what was that run like in the playoffs this season?
It was awesome. But it's interesting. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because for the sake of the show, obviously you want to pod as much as you can because that's when the guys have a lot of eyes on them, and that's just like great for the show. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's great for perception, right? And Knicks fans are really passionate, and so we get a lot of stop podding, just worry about playing. The guys obviously understand that both can be true, right? You can work really hard on the court and you can take an hour out of your day to talk into a microphone. So what we did during the playoffs was we recorded in between series, but not during series. So when they were playing Detroit, they were solely focused on Detroit. And then after that, we talked about the series. We talked about looking ahead to Boston. When they're playing Boston, they're only focused on playing Boston. Once after that was done, we talked a little bit about the series and talked about looking forward. And then obviously lost to the Pacers, but then did an episode after that. So I just think it's really cool to get that perspective from people who are actually playing in the games.
So you're doing a great job, looking up to and aspiring to be the next Ernie, right? We'll say that. But at the same time, you're really involved on the business side of this. And, so where do you think you guys are going to take this show?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're two seasons in. I think the cool thing about having a show is that the better the team does, the better the show does. It's a really tangible property to kind of map success back to. And so first and foremost, obviously the guys are like laser focused on getting a title. And I think that will obviously also be really great for the show. So we're going to do a whole lot of the same. I don't think we have to like switch up too much. We just have to be really consistent, keep getting really amazing guests, keep bringing just engaging conversations to light every week, and trust that it's gonna work out. I think the guys and myself also do have ambitions to do more in content. We've seen the success that we've had with the pod and start to think about how we can replicate that, maybe in stuff that the guys aren't in, so that it's not as taxing, or start to think about stuff from a branded content perspective. So I think there's a lot, but obviously Roommates is like our flagship thing that we're at least from a likeness perspective, like spending a lot of our time on. So season 2 is about to wrap here in like a month or so. We're going to take a few months in the summer to relax. We're going to start. We usually run parallel to the season, so we'll start back up late October for season 3, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Well, you've been in the in the content, the marketing, the digital side of the business for a number of years now, right? And you've seen the change, right? So right now, you look at some of the platforms that you're distributing the content on. And the ways that you're doing it today is compared to the way you did in the past. And you sort of think about, I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of what is coming next and what are some new types of things that you're doing to distribute the, your show and all the clips and things like that in ways that you may not have done in the past, but you're doing now, or things that you hope to be able to do even in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the biggest difference between now and when Josh and I had Light-harted is, you hit on it, but how important clips are. New Heights is a great example, right? Like New Heights really built a lot of their IP off clips, right? I was someone who hadn't really watched a ton of the show, but couldn't open TikTok or Instagram Reels without seeing clips. And so podcast now is a lot about clip culture. And I think, but also with that, it's really important that you still put out really great content, because clips are awesome, but you need to pull people to YouTube to watch the long form, or to Spotify to listen, because that's how you build a community. That's how you get people to buy merch. That's how you get people to show up to events. It's hard to do that with clips. And so for us, obviously clips are a great, top of funnel way to make people aware of the show. But then from there, it's okay, how do we bring them into the community? How do we make them feel like they're a part of this journey with us? Events, merch are really great ways to do that. We do a lot of, we do some smaller events. We've done meet and greets. So, we just do a ton of that. And I think, podcasting is really interesting. The line between digital content, like YouTube, and traditional content, excuse me, the line between digital content and traditional content is blurring, right? I think like Pat McAfee's a great example, right? He started off with his own show that was on, YouTube and audio platforms, and now it lives seamlessly on ESPN. And so I think obviously as technology gets better and as individuals become more and more capable of producing high level studio quality shows, great content can come from anywhere, and ultimately that's what's going to be important. So especially with AI, I know we haven't even talked about AI, like the the amount of content out there is going to be crazy. And so our hope is that there's more and more of a demand for really amazing content that brings a community in. Because I do think that's an area where AI is probably going to fall short, is building community. So that's our goal, is to just build a really awesome community around the show, bring people into the journey with us, see them in real life, host events, give them opportunities to wear our stuff, and grow from there.
Well, I want to shift gears a little bit, to your other full-time job, as CEO of Path Talent. I think a lot. There you go. I love the hat. Love the hat, like the logo, the whole thing. I guess you guys talk about this on your roommate's show. I think, and again, I'm too old to even know what this even means, but you guys talk about fit. I think that's like what you wear or something.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Absolutely.
You're getting there.
Yeah, my kids are gonna be like, well, Dad, what are you doing? But it's interesting. A lot of the things that you talk about that you're doing on the roommate show, it sounds like from our conversations in the past, really what you're doing with the influencers that you represent on the path side of the business as well.
And the way that the path even started was like I was on my own fitness journey. I had put on a good amount of weight since college just by working really hard and thinking that you're not supposed to have a work-life balance. And so I knew that I wanted to lose some weight and started watching a lot of content on social, diet content, strength training content, whatever. And it helped me a ton. Ended up losing a ton of weight. And I realized that a lot of the people that I was following on social, a lot of places I was getting my content were influencers, and most of them actually did not have representation because fitness was kind of this, corner of the internet. It was a little bit niche, kind of felt like gaming in 2017, 2018, which was kind of an industry I spent a lot of time in, where it really kind of before it took off. And so that's the thesis that powers path, is that fitness creators will be rock stars and will be really mainstream talent in the way that, gamers and other more traditional digital talent are. And ultimately also that fitness touches everyone's life, right? Whether you're like a mom who goes to Pilates once a week, or whether you're a bodybuilder in the gym like 6-7 times a week, fitness is part of your life. And so we represent, the best of the best in the industry who help people, millions of people with their content. We help them with brand partnerships. We help them scale their digital products, coaching, one-on-one training, et cetera. As some of them who have a little bit larger of a following, want to be more entrepreneurial and start their own like consumer businesses, whether it's food, whether it's products, whatever, like we can help them with that as well. And so, if you look at all the other obviously industries, sports, music, film, TV, other parts of digital, there's very sophisticated infrastructure to serve the top talent. There wasn't that in fitness. We didn't think it was too small. We kind of went an inch wide and a mile deep, work with the best of the best and help them build like really sustainable careers.
So, as we talked about earlier, you've got a lot going on from a business perspective. You're an incredible entrepreneur. So do you have some partners on the side of Path that are helping you build the management company that you guys are putting together?
Yeah. So we have a staff. We have there's a couple co-founders, a couple managers on the roster. Everyone kind of has their individual talent that they focus on, but we obviously all wear a lot of hats. I manage talent. I run the business, ops, finance, think about strategic growth, kind of do a lot. But it's a really like lean team and a really just hardworking culture. And there's a lot of trust. It's obviously a fully remote company. We have folks in the UK, we have folks in LA, folks in the Bay. Obviously I'm on the East Coast. And so everyone's kind of in lockstep, and then our talent are all over as well. So we kind of have to cover a lot of time zones, but yeah, really, really like awesome team, and would be impossible to do it myself.
So how did you meet all your teammates and bring them in?
Yeah, so there were originally more co-founders than there are now. Some folks kind of transitioned to advisors to work on other stuff, but there was just one of them I had just an organic friendship with for a while. Another one I'd worked with a ton in the past. They introduced, they brought in one other, and we sort of, the four of us, put our heads together and we're like, what can we do here? And one of my co-founders, Harry, has spent all of his career in fitness. And so he brought a lot of those organic connections, brought a lot of that sort of innate understanding of the space. And then obviously myself, having spent time in traditional talent, having spent time in brand marketing, understands how brands want to allocate budgets and spends. We sort of all just put our heads together and had, collectively the skill set to be a really great management company. But yeah, I didn't really have any connections in the health and fitness space prior to starting the company, which was a little over a year and a half ago.
So you're going to bring some of those bodybuilders over to the Knicks and help them out in the front court, or what's going on?
Yeah, enforcers, right? It's funny. A lot of the bodybuilders, I think a couple trips up and down the court, they'd be gassed. So I don't know how effective that would be, but
not much cardio going on with those guys.
It depends. It depends on the person. But.
We'll talk about some of the talent. I mean, some of the different. I saw on the Path Talent site. I mean, you have a number of incredible people that, are both male and female fitness stars.
Yeah. I think the coolest thing about fitness, and I liken it to gaming a lot, is because if you're not in the gaming space, you just think that gaming is one thing, right? But then once you're in it, you're like, oh, there's Candy Crush, right? There's League of Legends, there's Dota, there's like all these subsets of gaming. Fitness is the same way, right? You think from the outside in, it's just fitness, but there's bodybuilding, there's powerlifting, which is a competitive sport. There's just lifestyle fitness, folks who just train because they want to look good and they show their workouts. There's high rocks, right? There's marathons, there's Ironman, there's like all of these different subsets of fitness. And so we represent folks in every space, right? We represent, IFBB pro bodybuilders, which is kind of like the main federation of bodybuilding. We represent powerlifters. One of our talent is an amazing woman named Cranon, who's she's for 76 kilos, which is, I forget what that is in pounds, but she's the second strongest woman in the world. So it's crazy, but she's also like a prolific content creator. We represent a woman named Lean Beef Patty, which is a funny name, but she's like one of the biggest creators in the space. She has, between Instagram and TikTok, like 12, 14 million followers. And she just posts lifting content. So it's whatever it is that you're looking for, we definitely represent someone. And it's funny, when we started the company, the only brands spending in the space were like hardcore endemic fitness companies. And now, even in the last year and a half, we've seen consumer brands, mainstream companies realize that this is an important audience and start to spend in the space as well.
So who are some of those brands that you talk
about? We've worked with Amazon on like Prime Day campaigns. We've worked with Sonos. We've worked with Prize Picks, which is a sports betting company. A lot of these companies on the surface, like you wouldn't think that they're going to spend in fitness, right? Because they're a sports betting company or they're a headphone company or whatever. But they're realizing that at least, in Gen Z, fitness is kind of taking over the internet. It's symbolic with like internet culture. So we're starting to see a ton of that.
So when you think about what you and your partners at Path Talent are working on today, I mean, what's next there? What are you thinking about? What are you looking to do there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, first and foremost, the thing about management is interesting. It's like you want to obviously grow your brand and your company brand, but at the same time, you want to prioritize the people that you serve, right? And your clients, you want to really champion them. So continuing to build out capabilities that allow them to build world-class businesses, whether it's exploring, software to help them launch coaching. I think there's a lot we can do around launching consumer products alongside of them. Path itself represents, 70 talent reaching over 100 million people. So we have a ton of distribution in the event that we ever want to sort of build IP. So I think there's a lot of ways that we could take it. But right now, I would say for the next couple quarters, it's building out our moat, continuing to try and sign the best of the best and hopefully changing their lives through like brand partnership opportunities.
So maybe just even just kind of sharing with our audience, like how you work with these creators, right? I mean, they're and these influencers, right? I mean, they're there, right? Are they shooting their own content? Are they creating their own content? Are you then bringing the brand? Like, how does it all work? And also the fact that you guys are all over the world, right? And these people are all over, and all your clients are all over the world. So how do you spend time with them one-on-one, or is it a lot of, just communicating, digitally?
Yeah, I would say the coolest thing about working with digital creators as opposed to professional athletes is like they do this for a living. So they know how to create content. They own expensive cameras. They know how to film. They know how to edit. Some of them, as they've gotten further along in their career, hire out. But as opposed to an NBA player, right? If you want to do a photo shoot or video shoot, you have to bring in a production crew. Whereas that's not necessarily the case for like a digital creator. So they all create their own content organically. They do amazing. It's kind of how they build their followings. When we pull in brands just, they want them to keep doing what they're doing. They say your content worked great, integrate us. So that's a lot of what we do, is pairing up brands with our talent. But management by nature is a lot more holistic than that. So we're involved day to day when they want to make strategic career decisions, if they want to launch a business, if they want to get on to a new platform, whether they want to start streaming, or if they're not on Snap and they want to get on Snap. Like all of those things are things that we help them with. We call ourselves like we're their co-pilot. So any step that they want to take in their career, we want to be the first call that they make. And we want to really be in lockstep.
With, maybe even just, jump into, what are the platforms that you think are critical, for you as a influencer or manager of an influencer? What do you need to be on, and what do you need to do?
Yeah. I mean, I would say the bare minimum is Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you can master those three, you can build a really great career for yourself, especially YouTube, right? Because, we all scroll on our phones all day. We're all on Instagram, we're all on TikTok. Oftentimes you see someone, but to actually go to their YouTube, watch a long form video, 15, 20 minutes, watch a vlog, learn about their life, like that's a different level of community. And so we push as many of our creators as possible to try and take their audience from various platforms and build really strong YouTubes. But all the platforms are important. I mean, as they make different algorithmic changes, like it's important to understand the features that they're pushing. For example, there was a period of time where Instagram was like, we want to go really hard on Reels. So if you're posting Reels, they were kind of showing your content to a lot of people, and a lot of our creators saw a lot of growth. So it depends, but I would say those three are the minimum. A lot of people are on Snap. A lot of people they have their own sort of digital coaching businesses on various platforms. So you can kind of layer all that on. But yeah, I would say the big three are Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Well, as we start to wind down our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show, I mean, it's been amazing having Matt Hillman, the CEO of Path Talent, on our show, as well as the co-host and partner of the Roommates Show with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks. I mean, Matt, what's next for you? I mean, it's incredible to see what you're doing in both of these businesses today. Both seem to be really growing. What excites you, and what's this summer going to look like?
Yeah, well, I have my hands full with both, so not adding anything else to the plate. Want to keep growing the show, keep putting out really great content for people. Want to keep serving our clients at Path and even growing the roster. So laser focused on those. And then being a dad, it's my first summer as a dad. So we're in Miami all summer, which is hot as heck, but just enjoying it, hanging out with my wife, my daughter, going to the farmer's market, trying to just be as present as I can, and just enjoying it. So between those three, I'm pretty tapped out, and I'm trying to get in shape. I've been hitting the gym pretty hard. So if you ever have me on in a few months, hopefully you'll see a little transformation. We'll see.
That's awesome. Definitely want to have you back. Want to have, all your creators and anyone, from your management company that are looking for, and wanting to reach the sports business community. Happy to have them on our show here at 76 Capital. And best of luck with everything that you got going on. It's been amazing having you on the show, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Really respect what you guys do. So it's been fun. And we battled some serious technical issues today, and I think we came out alive. So we didn't make it easier on your editors, but I think we'll be okay.
Be great. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Of course.
On behalf of the entire 76 Capital team, thank you for joining us for this edition of our Sports Leadership Show. Please remember to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast network or on the 76 Capital website. You can also explore the hundreds of episodes we've produced over the past several years on those same networks. And as